Welcome back, everybody, to another live stream repair. This one is a little special. Once this live stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment at the bottom of the video, and if you're subscribed and you leave a comment, that will enter you for a chance to win a custom first-generation Apple HomePod made by yours truly. You can pick any color that you want, available from Ritz Diamorph Synthetics. If you want more information on any of this, just read the video description down below. And then, like I said, once this stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment. And 1 week from today, from this very time, we will do another live stream and pick the winner live. So I know in the past few live streams I was throwing ideas out there about how to do the giveaway, and I was talking about just being subscribed, but turns out you can't actually, which makes sense, you can't actually see everybody that's subscribed to you, only people who opt to make that public. So this way, where everybody that wants to participate can leave a comment and subscribe, we can actually pick the winner amongst the commenters on this video once we end this stream. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a live chat message if you're here and now. Otherwise, leave a comment. The only thing I'm looking for in your comment is what color you would want your HomePod to be if you could make it any color that you want. So leave that comment when we're done here. And otherwise, feel free to hang out with us while we catch up on our backlog of repairs throughout the past few days. Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left to fix up and get ready to go before Monday here. Let's see. Rich is going to be up first with no power. And then we've got Nicolo with no power. Tariq with no power, but Tariq might have a unique no power situation here because of a known power surge that took out multiple electronics in his house. So that one might not be the typical. It'll be interesting to see what's going on in there. And then we've got Shane, another one with no power. We've got Dawn. I'm not sure what Dawn has. And then Gus with death farts. So let's jump right on into it. First, of course, let's check up with the chat here. Welcome, John. Welcome. It's great to see you guys here. Jeff, Karam, Michael, welcome everybody. All right. Let's start with Richard. Oh, and of course, let's get the text updated on our screen. Oh, and of course, if you don't win this time around, don't worry. This won't be the only giveaway we do. I've got a small stash that I've dedicated for this kind of thing. So in a few weeks, we'll hold another one, and it'll be a little different. You won't need to comment and subscribe, but rather we'll look into something where we'll give it away to somebody that's live with us in the chat. So keep an eye out, and you'll have more than this chance to get one. And more people are talking about like how much they like the sound of the first generation more than the second generation. Despite the second generation having a slightly cleaner, crisper high-end and some slightly tighter low-end bass, and feeling it has more of a direct sound, I agree with them. At the end of the day, I feel like I still ultimately prefer the sound from my first generation HomePods. And I've had a chance now to listen to them both as single units and in stereo pairs. And I'll still prefer the first generation. It won't stop me from picking up a couple more second gens. What I'll do with those is I'll actually disable Siri on all of my first generations and use them just for AirPlay. That's pretty much all I use them for anyways. For the second generation HomePods, along with maybe a handful of minis, those will be the ones that handle the smart stuff and Siri and what have you. So that all should mean that I've got a more efficient overall HomeKit setup, but we'll see how it pans out. Tony's here. Welcome, Tony. Hi, Nick. Do you only do the main RIT colors or also their color recipes? My wife was telling me we should try mixing colors together. The challenge with that, not something I want to avoid, something I definitely want to try, but the challenge with that is it's already slightly unpredictable what color the HomePod ends up actually coming out as. And it highly depends on the temperature and the duration that you leave your mesh in the dye for. If you only do it for a short time, then of course you're going to come out with a lighter, sometimes even muted color. If you leave it in for a longer time, you come out with a much darker, deeper, richer color. And sometimes like I did this deep navy blue for somebody, and it ended up having this almost like purple tint to it. I don't know if I'm colorblind, and they loved it when they got it, so maybe I am, but sometimes the colors just come out slightly different than what you end up thinking they will. I'd go with the blue to match the bomb color you did for my first HomePod. Oh, you're the one that did that we did the sapphire blue with, right? Most recently on stream. That ended up being my favorite color. Okay. Catching up with the chat again really quick here, and then we'll get started on this. Buying is the issue. Yeah. Who knows how long the OG will be supported. At the end of the day, for at least me personally, as long as these continue to be functional AirPlay 2 destinations for playing music, I could care less what else happens to them as far as software and support. Take a look at the... Sorry for the noise. Take a look at the second generation Airport Express V2. This thing was discontinued years ago. And yet, even then, years after its discontinuation, Apple suddenly pushed a firmware update out for them that gave them AirPlay 2 capability. So the little auxiliary jack is also a combination optical jack. And you can plug in any audio device to this and use this as any other AirPlay 2 speaker. I do this with my home theater subwoofer. If I only want the sub to accompany my HomePods, my home theater amp also has AirPlay, but sometimes I don't want all the extra speakers. You could connect it to an Apple Hi-Fi and give it AirPlay 2. You could crack one of these apart and then stuff the guts of it into your Apple Hi-Fi and give it AirPlay 2 support without actually having any wires or anything extra on the outside. I have a YouTube short on my channel briefly showing how I did that, and kind of like a proof of concept. I really need to work on an actual proper how-to video on that, because I've gotten a lot of people asking for it. Anyways, my point is, even after all these years that Apple stopped supporting this and then pushed a firmware update to give it AirPlay 2 and continued no longer supporting it thereafter, to this day, you can still use these as AirPlay 2 speakers along with your not only first-gen HomePods, but your second-gen HomePods and the HomePod Minis, and of course any other AirPlay 2 speaker. So, for me personally, as long as I can continue using these as AirPlay speakers, I don't care what happens to them. And eventually one day, all the extra smart stuff that they keep cramming into these speakers is just... the software or the hardware on these is no longer gonna have enough support to actually do all that. So I'd rather them eventually stop software updates on this and keep it responsive and performing well sooner than later, as opposed to loading it up with a whole bunch of extra crap that's just gonna slow it down and make them unusable before they stop supporting them. Okay, so we're checking our symptoms first, as always. We've plugged it in with a known good power cable, and we can see tapping and touching it a few times. We're not seeing anything respond. Yet, according to our kilowatt meter here, we're pulling around 4 watts of power from the wall. So we can look at the power draw from the wall with an unresponsive HomePod, and that usually gives us a decent guess as to what's going on. If it's pulling 0 watts of power, that's most likely a blown fuse, and the first fuse that's going to be blown is in the power supply. If it's pulling really low power, like around 1 to 2 watts, that's going to be a less likely short or damage to the logic board or display. 3 to 7 watts of power draw is going to be the most common thing that you'll see with no power HomePods. That is caused by that diode on the amplifier failing and going bad as part of a bad batch of those diodes. So not all first-gen HomePods have this problem, but there's no way to tell if you've got the bad diode without opening it up or just waiting for it to happen. And there's really no harm in waiting for that problem to happen. Once it fails, it's the only thing that goes out and it doesn't cause other damage. So let's get this opened up and see what's going on from the inside and if our guess is correct. Make sure we're focused. So we're starting with our iFixit pry tool, or I think they call this the Jimmy. The Mini did get a bit of a beauty treatment. You're correct. Astute observation. I actually cleaned up my desk a little bit. Hung up all of my parts boards and such, so that way they're not all clanking around and cluttering up my space. Plastic top is removed. All of this is just a piece of plastic. It doesn't really it doesn't have any active or passive function other than just sitting on there and looking pretty and diffusing the light. All of the touch and display function actually lives on this next layer here. Is your squeak box broken, kitty? We're going to use the Jimmy to create a gap, and then we're going to use a plastic tool to actually get under there and pry this off, because we don't want to use the metal tool. That's going to scratch up this PCB underneath. Am I watching the game today? Honestly, I didn't even know there was a Super Bowl game today until yesterday when my wife was like, Super Bowl. And I was like, oh, that's tomorrow? I'm doing a stream tomorrow at 10. Who even is playing? I don't do no football. Not anymore. Okay, we're going to drip a little bit of rubbing alcohol around the perimeter of the subwoofer speaker here. That is going to weaken the adhesive that holds this basket down. and make our prying on this basket significantly easier. Once again, thank you, Anthony, for the tip. He suggested this a few streams back. I was hesitant at first, but it works like magic. So we're going to let that soak in for a minute and take these screws out. Chiefs versus Eagles. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you where either of those teams are from, so I probably won't watch. I might watch the halftime show. Oh, wait, no, they've got someone. I don't really care about doing the halftime show either, I think, so never mind. Okay, one other thing I forgot to do really quick. Let's go ahead and add... Actually, never mind. Never mind. Oh, look at that. Zero effort. Oh, we forgot a screw. Let's get that out before we ream on it. There we go. And that just comes right off now. I'd been thinking about the alcohol drops, possibly. Yeah, that's an OP freaking... Oh, I can't believe I even just said that. Forgive me. That is a very good trick there. Woofer check. Our voice coil looks good in there. Feels nice and smooth. And it smells funky fresh. Oh yeah, I got this little teeny tiny USB-C air quality indicator to sit on top of my desk here just so we can keep an eye on things and make sure we're not slowly killing ourselves. I don't know if you guys are able to hear it in the background there. It kicks on and off every few seconds. Along with Nick's jokes. Well, I'm a dad now. I gotta get good at the dad jokes. You guys are great practice. Yeah, we hit over 10,000 subscribers. It was like a week ago. I was checking and I had like 800 or so subscribers, and I was like, I'm gonna need to get ready for this giveaway. And then iFixit published their HomePod 2 teardown, and they mentioned me, and I immediately gained like a couple hundred more subscribers over the course of a day. And I was like, let's go! Excuse me. Gotta break out Big Bubba. Ooh, I have a label maker. Forget all this janky freaking sticky note labeling. Power on. Okay. First, we will make a label for Mr. Brick. Mr. Brick. Does this thing got symbols? It's got emojis. Don't have no symbols. Okay. You got pizza. No arrows, though. That's okay. Give me Mr. Brick. Batteries are dead. On today's episode of Nick's Fix, we replace batteries. Ah, 6, you... All right. Let's go. What do you mean? Half-inch. Mr. Brick. Nice. There we go. We are professional now. Let's make one for Big Bubba. Yeah, this is what you all came here for. There we go. Now we won't get confused. We'll make a label for a little Slim Jim here later. But for now, we gotta fix. Oh, that's already out, so we will remove our power supply. Okay, if you are just joining in and you're curious about how the giveaway works for that custom first-gen HomePod, check the description down below. Once the stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment saying what color you'd want, and in 1 week we will pick a random subscriber comment for said giveaway. So yeah, read the description for details. Check back with us in a few hours. If you don't feel like sticking around, you just want a free HomePod, you know. I understand. Check back with us, and once the stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment. Okay. Oh, looks like I need to move my camera a little bit. So there's our pesky little diode. It's got a date code of 1746K on it. That's usually what we see when those diodes, or with these failed diodes. Let's see if it's in fact dead. Yes, it is. So, let's get our heat on. We will now pull that dead diode and then put, of course, a new one on. If you're doing this repair yourself, be sure you confirm that your diode is the source of the short. Once you get the dead one off the board. Usually it's just the diode. Sometimes it can be something else, like the step-down converter right next to it. Air quality's still looking good. Love to see it. A little bit of a ball in there. Give me that. Give it up. There we go. Let's check our work. See if this board works fine. Putting some parts onto the amplifier that will allow us to power it on and listen to make sure that it doesn't have any other issues. Here's our subwoofer that we use to test for sound. It's also connected to our multimeter over here, which will tell us if it's well, every amplifier is going to have some amount of DC offset. But if the filters are doing their job correctly, we want to see less than 50 millivolts. So we've got power. So that means the amp is working again. We did our job right. And sounds like it's working fantastic. Our offset's looking pretty good at around 27, 28 millivolts. It's probably going to creep up a little bit, but it's still far below that 50 millivolts, which is still a pretty conservative number there. 50 millivolts isn't going to cause any damage. It's once you start hitting a couple hundred millivolts that you see issues. So, this one's good to go. Oops. Let's get it put back together. Not all my life, but I still today like to take things apart. Ooh, good on ya. Nothing would stop me from fixing HomePods. Nothing. I could lose both eyes, an arm, and both my legs, and I'll still fix HomePods. I might need the wife's help, but... Alright, that looks all nice and lined up, so we'll tighten the first screw down and put the rest in. Welcome to the chat, Martin. Welcome, welcome. Nick asked, why do I like fixing these so much? There's a few reasons. I think one of the biggest reasons is how easy it is for me, and how like other people can't or don't want to do it themselves, and they send it in all worried, you know, that it's going to be some catastrophe or something. And typically I end up getting it done, you know, within a few hours of picking it up, and they're like, oh, wow, that was not only fast, but I was expecting the worst and didn't think you could even get it apart. So being able to show people that these are repairable is a big reason why I like doing it. It's also a really good mix of easy and challenging. And what I mean by that is a lot of the process and a lot of the repairs are pretty straightforward and easy for us to do, which is good. It keeps me sane. And then you get we sometimes get the one-offs that are really challenging or something that we haven't figured out yet, and that's what keeps me going. I like a good challenge. And then also, just because I have so many of them and I like them so much, and I still haven't found something that gives me the same experience or sound, being able to see all of the different issues that everybody has and try to fix them also prepares me for if anything happens with one of mine, so I'm able to fix that too. There's a lot of reasons. It's just a rewarding experience to get something working again. So we didn't do a giveaway yet, and it turns out you can't just simply pick a random subscriber because that information's not available. So the plan is we're going to do the repairs that we need to catch up on today. Once this stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment, not a live chat. Live chats won't count. You have to leave a comment on this video once the stream ends. And check the video description for details. But basically, leave a comment when the stream ends with what color HomePod you'd like if you won. And we will pick a winner amongst the subscriber comments on this video 1 week from today, live on stream. We'll use some random YouTube comment picker to pick the winner. Sound Blaster Katana. I'm going to have to Google that. Oh, see, it's probably good for what it is, but it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for omnidirectional sound, not a sound bar. But it looks legit. Oh, almost forgot the power supply. Let's pop that in there. Nice save. Okay, YouTube censoring the wrong comments. That's usual. We're going to show that. Hey there, be sure you read the video description for how we're going to do this giveaway. Live chats will not count. Keep that in mind. You won't be able to leave a comment on this video until the stream ends. So, it's a bit of a way for me to get you to keep watching. Who's going to be the first to comment? Who's going to be the first to leave a comment as soon as the stream ends? Maybe that'll be a way that we can do another giveaway, is we'll do a live stream repair of like a whole bunch of them. And then first comment on the as soon as the stream ends gets the HomePod. Unless there's like a bot out there that helps you make the first comment on a video, in which case, no. Okay. We're getting close to done with this one. Hi, you've repaired one of my HomePods and it works flawlessly. Hey! Good to hear. I'm a little pickled. 1 amp is just cooperating. Oh, it's just not cooperating. Gotta reflow the power supply connector, no spare parts for the chewed up plastic on it. And the woofer just buzzes whenever connected to it. That sounds like a totally boogered up amp. That sounds like an amp that would be great for parts for other amps. As long as the physical pins for the power supply connector are still physically there and straight, and they're not like bent or crossed over or anything, you're usually fine to just leave the power supply connector alone on there and just be careful when you're installing it and removing it. I don't bother replacing broken power supply connectors unless the pins are actually damaged as well. Because the screws in the power supply do a good enough job holding it in place. Another one. Thanks for giving my HomePod a new life. It's always my pleasure. Here to help. Every HomePod that comes to us is a HomePod that's saved from Daisy. Also, it's hard to get hands on spare pods in Europe. Order it in the US for $65 with $55 shipping. Yikes. I'd like to sell parts, but everybody always wants the parts I don't have enough of, and nobody wants all the parts that I have too much of. And then I end up always losing money trying to do it. I'd be fine if I wasn't losing money. I don't care about making money. Although I suppose at the end of the day, if I price the parts reasonably enough, people will still pay more for a single part instead of more for a whole HomePod to, like, say somebody had to pay $100 to $150 for a broken HomePod to get all the parts. Or if they had to buy like $40 to $60 in parts from me, would people rather actually like buy the parts from me instead of just spending a little more and getting the whole set of spare parts? I guess I just try and see what happens. I have not gotten any second gens in to repair yet, and I would hope not, because for the time being, I don't have any parts. I'm not familiar with what any problems may arise with them. And the cost of repair through AppleCare with Apple, for now, is probably going to be cheaper than my cost to service them for you. And that's what I would encourage people to do, is just go the simplest and cheapest route. Even if that's directly through Apple, make them do it. But once the second gens start to go out of warranty, broken ones will start becoming available. I'll be able to start getting parts on those, and we'll see what what kind of common failures those will end up with. So we're gonna check our work, make sure everything's put together properly. We've got power. Talk to me.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Aren't we all?
I'm having trouble.
Okay. Sounds good. Looks good. This one's good. Let's put it back. And let's grab Niccolo. Niccolo's also got no power, so let's update that text on the screen. I think it's Niccolo. I think that's what it says. I'm not great at reading handwriting. What have we got here? We got another box inside of a box. Welcome, Nick. Glad you could make it. In Italy, it was almost impossible to buy first gen. I organized a trip to Cupertino with the excuse I took one. Imagine the display after just 2 years. Yeah. That's how it goes. Nick's HomePod, and we've got their address in here. That makes it nice and easy. Alright, and no power cable to worry about. Very nice. Power cables have never been the source of any problems up to this point. So that's also why we always test with our power cable. In the rare event we do come across a HomePod that's not powering on because of its power cable, we'll know because we always check before we start with our known good one. So let's go ahead and do that now. Bum-ba-da-bum. Nothing. Our kilowatt meter says we're pulling the typical 4 to 6 watts of power draw for the usual shorted diode on the amplifier. Let's get this taken apart and see if that's the case yet again. If you put your phone in mono and you AirPlay to the HomePod, it sounds 3 decibels louder. Interesting. I wonder if that's because all the sound is now coming from both channels and it's not, right? Because like now you've got all of your speakers producing the same sound, whereas before each speaker may not be producing the exact same sound as the others, so it's not going to be as loud. But that makes sense. In the big box, I put a package with candies in it. Ooh! I found it! For me. I will always take free food. What's inside? We've got Golia Bianca. Never heard of those before. Looks like gum or mint. Let's give it a shot. Oh, interesting. It's like a minty, almost black licorice. Ooh, my wife will love those. Thanks for the candy. That's an old Dane Cook reference. If anybody's ever listened to Dane Cook. Yeah, I know, he's trash. But when I was a dumb young kid, I had a whole bunch of his skits on my iPod. I don't even think I had an iPod then. I think I had a SanDisk, Sansa, some MP3 player. Some iPod Nano wannabe. I love popcorn. I like to get the extra butter, movie style butter popcorn from Act 3 or whatever it's called. And then I like to get the butter syrup, the butter sauce, and just dump a quarter of the bottle into the bag and just completely clog my shit up. Alright, we've been boozed up. We'll let that settle in while we take the screws out. Is it good to turn off the HomePod after each listening session? Can I listen to songs on loud volumes for 2 to 3 hours nonstop? So, I believe at the end of the day, the best way to use the HomePod is the way that Apple intended you to use it, which is to leave it plugged in all the time. The HomePod has a built-in standby mode. It's going to turn off all the non-necessary components after 10 minutes of inactivity. So, and that's what I do with all of mine, and I haven't had an issue doing this. But just leave them all plugged in. As far as listening and listening volume and for how long, it's the same thing. I believe that Apple wouldn't let you listen to it in a way that would hurt it if it would. So crank it up, listen to it as long as you want. And again, that's the exact same thing I do. I'll turn them up, and I'll listen to it for hours. And I've been doing that since I've owned them. What you should do is put not just them, but any of your sensitive electronics that you care about on a surge protector. Not just any Dollar Tree janky freaking outlet duplicator, okay? You need a proper surge protector that tells you when your shit's being protected. And that will prevent power surges from coming in and hurting your HomePod. And that's really the only thing you can do to help them out. Putting them on conditioned power isn't going to do anything. If you want for extra credit, you can put them on backup batteries. So that way, if you're pushing a software update to them and you happen to lose power during that process, you're far less likely to break them through a failed update than without it. Woofer checks out. If you're not going to be using them for an extended period of time, let's say days or weeks, and you're not going to be anywhere near them to hear if they start going, like if they just suddenly start wildly popping really loud and farting on you, and you're away from home for a few weeks, yeah, I would probably leave them unplugged from power until you're going to start using them again or you're back. Just going to take a second to welcome anyone that's recently joined in on our live stream here. If you're curious about the giveaway for a custom first-gen HomePod, read the description. Once the stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment with what color you want your HomePod to be. And next week, we will pick a winner amongst the commenters live on stream. I actually have next week's stream where we pick said winner already scheduled, so you can head over to my channel and get notified of when that live stream goes live. We are in. Let's get up close, do some quick diagnostics. We've got a diode with a date code of 1748K. That's the date code that we typically see failing, just like 1746K. And it's dead. So, you know the drill. easy does it. Let's see if it works. We got power. Does this stop the issue from happening again? Almost certainly yes, because of the what seems to be the fact that these are a bad batch of diodes. Not all of them fail, only ones with certain date codes fail. When we replace it with the newer one, we're pretty certain it's not going to happen again based on that info. Okay, so we've got good power, we've got good bass, we've got good offset, we are good to go. Let's put it back together. What do you think about the Echo Studio in comparison? I can't say I've heard the Echo Studio in person, but from what I've heard in YouTube comparisons, take it as you will, it sounds... I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It sounded different. I don't know if I liked the sound of it more, but it wasn't worse. Maybe I think it feel like it had a little more mid in it. But you won't catch me sticking any Amazon device in my house. I've picked my poisons. There we go. See, I'm okay with the Google stuff. I use a Pixel 7 Pro as my personal phone. I use an iPhone 13 Pro Max as my work phone. And I'm okay with Google stuff. Much more okay with it than Amazon. 'Cause I feel like I get more out of the data that I share with Google. Everything's generally more usable, whereas with Amazon, I'm not getting anything out of that. They're just taking my shit and giving me nothing back. Maybe more specific product recommendations, but that's about it. HomePods versus Devialet Phantom. Another one that I don't think I've even heard any side-by-side comparisons on YouTube of those, let alone ever had the chance to listen to any Devialet speaker in person. I would absolutely love to. I'll even tear it apart if I ever get my hands on one. Yes, if you've got one or you want to send me one, I would love to take it. Take a look at it, take it apart. I know one of you's crazy enough out there to do it for me. I would if I could. Maybe we'll get big enough one day that it'll just be considered a small expense. Small business expense. What is a common issue with the HomePod Mini? Good question. Probably no power, like they just suddenly stop powering on. I haven't worked any pretty much at all on the minis, so I can't say why. But I've gotten a handful of the no power ones myself, and I mean they all just plugged into my computer and restored just fine, and they work. So I don't know what was up with that, but we had somebody send in a HomePod Mini that won't power on, and we tried plugging it into our computer and it wouldn't show up. We weren't able to find any obvious faults either, though, so I'm not sure what could be causing that. But it seems to be the most common issue with the minis is no power. But it is a totally different design, so it's nowhere near the same root cause. Keep in mind, folks, a live chat message does not count as entry into the giveaway. You'll have to wait until the stream ends to leave a comment, because YouTube doesn't let you leave comments on live streams until they're over. But leave a comment with what color you'd want if you won. And if you do that and you're subscribed, that will enter you for a chance. All right, the final piece. Yeah, my first guess is it's probably a short somewhere, but we didn't see anything with our thermal camera, so it's going to be a little trickier to find if it is a short. It is possible that it's something else, but it was pulling power. It was pulling like 1 watt of power, so... it wasn't completely dead. Okay, let's see if it works. We got power. And
Si è verificato un problema di connessione.
very nice, aren't we
Si
all?
è verificato.
And very good. Nick checks all out. 2 for 2. Let's grab another one from the pile here. Who do we pick on next? Ooh, yeah, let's go for Tariq. Tariq seems to, based on their story, have a less common issue with their HomePod here regarding no power. They were saying they had a power surge at their house, which took out multiple electronics. So they're thinking that theirs is not the usual no power issue. Luckily, there's a lot in between the outlet and the logic board, which is all we really care about making sure still works. Everything else can be repaired or replaced. Okay, I don't see any damage on the power cable. Power cable still looks good. Let's check our symptoms. We're going to plug this in with a known good power cable and look at our power draw. That'll tell us roughly what might be going on here. So it actually turns on. That is not no power. Let me check our email. I bet you it's going to have blinking volume. Oh, nope, it just turned on. Let's see. Interesting. Nope, they just straight up busted HomePod no power. Did they send the wrong one in? Let's see if it starts the reset process. If it starts the reset process, then we're going to go ahead and skip theirs and shoot them an email asking what they meant here, because it's powering on. Chef thinks it's the power cable. I am going to bet you that it's
Your HomePod
not.
is about to reset.
Okay, so it's got sound. It responds to touch fine. I am going to say it's not the power cable, but we're going to do our due diligence here. It'd be pretty funny. I don't normally talk about the fact that we use a different power cable for testing every time, but during today's stream we did, and it'd be funny if it finally is the... No. Huh. It's not like... No. It's solid. Okay. We are going to move on. We're going to shoot Tariq an email and try to clarify what might be going on here. Maybe there was something inside that started, like maybe it got dropped or something and started working again. If it was a dead diode or a surge fault, then that wouldn't suddenly make it work again. Well, that is quite the mystery. Could be their socket at home. It could, that's a good point. It could be, since they said in their email multiple electronics went out in their house, I wonder if maybe, like the wiring in their house went bad, or maybe maybe they just have a blown circuit breaker. Oh, that would be really unfortunate, because I believe it cost them a fair bit of money to ship it all the way to us. And if it ended up being all of that, then I'm happy to ship it back to them. And hey, at least they don't have to pay extra for repairs if they don't want to go through it. But it kind of sucks that they had to go through all that still. Let's make a note so we don't forget about them. the HomePod Mini boot looping on the table is one of the broken ones that I bought. It just boot loops. It doesn't allow me to recover the software. It doesn't work. It just boot loops all day. Okay, so we're gonna look at Shane. Shane has no power as well, as is the theme with these things. Try to open this up. It's completely covered in tape, so this will be interesting to try to get into. But I'm happy to see that people put the effort into trying to pack these things well and not just throwing them in a bag and hoping for the best. Open sesame. Okay, let's check our symptoms. You know the drill. There we go, no response. Oh, because there's no power cable plugged in, let's get that in there. Okay, still no response. 4 to 6 watts of power draw from the wall, the typical. Let's get it cracked open and see what's going on inside. Welcome, Lucifer. They asked, how did you get so good at opening and diagnosing HomePods? Honestly, just doing it over and over and over again. Starting off with buying broken ones for myself to get good at, just doing it over and over again. And then getting people to send them in once I had enough parts on hand to not worry about breaking something without a replacement. And then once you've done a few hundred of them, you know, you get pretty good at it. I learned a lot about how to diagnose electronics along the way too. I didn't really know a whole bunch until I started digging into these. I still don't know a lot. I think I don't know more than I know. But we are on a mission to solve every problem. What is the most common issue with these HomePods? Funny you ask. Head over to my website, nixfix.com. I've got a dedicated section for the common issues that happen with HomePods. Feel free to check it out. It's got enough info up there for you to diagnose and repair the issue for yourself and the part numbers for anything that you might need to replace. to get the tiny capacitor next to the diode back on, put a bunch of flux down onto the pads on the board, and that should help hold the capacitor in place. And then with your heat gun, you want to go straight down from above it to put it back down. And the surface tension of the solder once it melts should pull the diode into place. You don't need to get it exact, but the capacitor. The capacitor doesn't need to be perfectly lined up with the pads on the board, but it does need to be touching the pads in order for the solder to pull it into place. Yes. Yes, people. There is a chance that Apple does something about all of the bricked HomePods with the blinking volume buttons. Go to Apple's feedback form. Like search on Google for Apple feedback and submit feedback through their website asking for asking for access to the firmware files to restore the software on our HomePods, our first gen HomePods. I don't care that it's not user accessible. I don't care that you have to rip the rubber foot off the bottom of the thing. If that's what it takes to save a $350 smart speaker from the trash. On the bottom of the OG HomePod there's a debug port. And you can solder a USB cable onto it and plug it into a computer. And it gives you a restore button. But when you click restore, Apple blocks access to the necessary firmware. And I don't want to hear the audio OS doesn't support it. Because what about the Mini? You can plug your Mini into your computer and restore the software. And you can download the firmware files for the Mini too. So what's up with that? Yeah, Mr. Brick, I have a feeling is going to be bricking around for quite some time. Yeah, bricked logic board or faulty hardware on the logic board. Probably the solder joints for the CPU or NAND, or the chips themselves. But there's no chance that there's no chance that none of these are software issues. There's no chance they're all hardware. Especially considering when you plug it in, when you plugged one of these bricked HomePods into your PC or your Mac, it specifically says it's in recovery mode. Like, it knows it needs help. It's asking for it. Everybody always gets excited whenever somebody says, I left my HomePod unplugged for X amount of time, and when I plugged it back in, it magically started working again. Unfortunately, that seems to just be pure luck. What I've been thinking about doing is setting up some sort of automated like power cycling thing, and then hooking up a bunch of bricked logic boards to it and just having it sit there 24 hours a day, just power cycling them on and off until they snap out of it. Okay, we are in. It is time to diagnose our date code or diode with a date code of 1748K, so that's probably the issue again. Yep, that diode is definitely dead, so we will replace it with a not dead diode. You know the drill. In case you pick a winner from Europe, do you have any other power cables lying around? I didn't think about that. I did have one, but I cut it open. I wanted to see the inside of the power cable, and the only way was to cut it open. I'll show you. Where'd it go? Yep. I had one. But I wanted to, the reason why I cut this open is because I wanted to see if it was safe to dye the cables or not. So the construction of the cable is just this mesh outer layer and then a rubber insulator, and then inside of that you've got another set of insulated wires. So based on the construction, it seemed safe for me to dye the cables so long as you keep the ends out of the water. But anyways, so since I don't have another one of these cables, if it's an international winner, just let me know what power that you have in your area, and I will just buy, I will include just a tiny little adapter for you that you can plug it into your wall. Those work just fine. Internally speaking, all of the HomePods use the same power supply. It's a 110 to 240 volt switching power supply, so you can just plug it into whatever you want. Welcome, old man. Welcome, welcome. Will you sign the basket before putting it back together? Oh, I'll sign the logic board before putting it back together. So that way you can actually see it if you take it apart. There's nowhere good to sign the basket. Let's see if it works. How many HomePods do I have working and how many in pieces? I will not tell you guys the exact number of HomePods that I have. As far as how many in pieces, this isn't how many complete parts of HomePods I have, but just looking at how many amplifiers I have gives me an idea of roughly how many parts per pod I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 amps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 power supplies that are working, with another 8 that don't. God, I don't want to count the logic boards. There are so many bricked logic boards. You have an estimate of how many HomePods you have brought back to life since starting this? Yes, somewhere around 400 to 500. All right, we got power. We got good bass and 1 millivolt of offset. Excellent. So let's get this one put back together. So if you want a rough idea of how many we've fixed, during next week's stream on Sunday where we pick the winner, we will count how many diodes we have. And that'll give us a good indicator because I've replaced this diode in every single HomePod that we've repaired. Regardless of whether the diode is good, bad, regardless of what date code it has, we replace it. These are all the bad ones. These are all the used ones that still worked, but we still replaced. And then these are just my brand new ones that we used to replace them with. So we will count those on next week's stream. Yeah, I'm sure Apple has had to have noticed at this point in an official capacity. Because 500, and I've still got dozens of people still that I'm still waiting to have send in, and I'm sure that they're just going to keep coming in. But this is not an okay failure rate. Like this is a known bad this is a known flaw. This is bad. And they're getting away with it. I think you want to know what I think that should happen? I think Apple should start a service program for the first gen HomePods, and they should replace the faulty parts or the parts that are part of a known bad batch. They should replace them free of cost. And for anybody who's already paid to get theirs repaired by me, they should get a check for the cost of repairs and shipping. Also, where the hell is my check for the class action lawsuit that Apple lost for the OS 14 firmware bricking HomePods? Where's my check for that? How much was the check? How much is everybody getting paid for that? Is it the price of a new HomePod? You're going to guess 585. That is a very good guess. If someone bought them in 2018 or 19 and the issue still hasn't occurred, is it safe to assume the issue most likely still won't occur? I don't think so. If you have that diode with that date code in there, even if it's been working for the past few years, I still get people sending these in that have only recently failed. These diodes are just ticking time bombs. But on the flip side, there's no harm in not worrying about it and just waiting for it to happen if you have that bad diode and it does happen, because nothing else typically dies or goes bad when this occurs. Are the woofers from the two generations interchangeable? Unfortunately not. They are the same physical size. They both physically fit. However, the new generation has more screws. So by that alone, it's not possible, even not without like some serious modification and printing a custom part that would allow you to mount the new subwoofer in the old HomePod, or vice versa, the old HomePod and the new subwoofer, the old subwoofer and the new HomePod. But the connector is simple enough to just replace. You just remove the old connector and put a new one on there. Oh yeah, I get all of my components from DigiKey and Mouser. Nice, nice. I forgot how to type today. Free from $50 up, and they pay the customs? Ooh. I'm gonna have to tell more people about that, because I think that definitely stops a lot of people from getting their hands on components. Old man, it sounds like you know better than I do, which is very likely. I don't know much, but it sounds like you're pretty confident that getting is that the PDS560Q with the slightly higher amperage? Because people ask me all the time, can I replace this diode with a bigger one? And unfortunately, I'm just not smart enough to tell them whether it's safe to or not and what the implications of that are. But if you know and you think it's good to go, then that would be excellent news for a lot of people because they can't get the exact diode. Ah, the 760. Okay. I see. The Q version is just rated for medical, I think. Interesting. When I compared the specs side by side with the Q and the non-Q, it looked like, I think it was like voltage forward was like 600 milliamps on the non-Q and 700 milliamps on the Q, and I don't know what difference that makes. Let's see if it works. We got power. Oh, welcome to the stream, Mayushi. Glad you could make it. If you're curious about the giveaway, we've had a slight change of plans. We're going to be giving it away to one of the commenters on this video. Once the stream ends, you'll be able to leave a comment. And then next week, we will pick one of the random comments from this video to give that HomePod away to. So see the description for more details.
I'm having trouble connect.
And this one checks out. Another one saved. Looks like we've got 3 more. We're getting there. Who's this? Ooh, this one is Dawn, and I don't know what's wrong with Dawn's. I didn't check their email. So I'm gonna guess that Dawn has no power. Oh, they put in a printout of the email in here. So, no power. We guessed it correctly. I mean, if you guess the issue is no power, you're going to be right 9 times out of 10 anyways. HomePod. Leave a like if you like HomePods. And the reason why we're not picking the winner just by subscriber is it turns out you can't you don't have access to that information in the first place. I didn't learn that until last minute, so I had to come up with something else. And you can pick a winner based on comments, so we're gonna go with that. Okay, on your site you wrote for the no base issue. I think this is a 27 microfarad cap. Could it be that you meant 0.27? I couldn't find any 27. No, I'm positive it's around 27 microfarads and not 0.27. And I have the same problem as you. I'm having a hell of a time finding that exact capacitance. So I think I'm probably just measuring it within tolerance. It's probably like 10-15% tolerance. So it could be as little as like 25 microfarads, or it could be as much as 29 or 30 microfarads. Okay, let's check our symptoms. No response, and again 4 to 6 watts of power from the wall. So this is yet again most likely the same shorted diode on the amp problem that we see with many of these. Let's get it apart and find out. Wow, that's coming off really easy. Doesn't quite feel like someone's been in here before, but easier than usual. If you're able to find that a suitable replacement capacitor, feel free to pop a link to it in the chat, and I'll double check and see if it looks right. I'll buy a few myself and see if it's a usable replacement too, because I need them. George is on it. Oh, one other thing. Well, a few things actually. If you happen to figure out how to repair an issue that we do not describe on our website's common issues section, please reach out to me and let me know. And I will gladly put the issue up on our website along with credit for you for finding the issue, of course. You deserve it. And everybody will be greatly thankful because there's still a lot of issues that we haven't figured out. Even with no bass, there's still seemingly a number of issues with these amps that we haven't figured out all of the causes for no bass with. So if you find something that we don't have on our website, let us know. Where do I live? You can find out roughly where I live if you visit my website, nixfix.com, and go to the mailing address where you'll find my contact info, including my mailing address, and as well as contact info for people around the world that offer repairs internationally. If you offer repairs for HomePods and you want to be added to that section on the website, let me know. Mayushi, no thinking about it. Just do it. Whoever figures out the blinking volume, but whoever manages to even dump firmware from a HomePod, I will gladly pass off the crown of HomePod God to you. Ah, it's not SMD. Yeah. Sad. Thanks for trying. Okay, how about this? If you this offer is open to anybody. If you manage to find a reliable way to bring bricked logic boards back to life, doesn't matter how you do it. If you can find a reliable way to do it that we can reproduce, I will give you a free HomePod and cover shipping, and it doesn't matter where in the world you are. I'll pay for the whole thing. How's that? Did you use isopropyl alcohol for something to dissolve the glue? Yes. So, when we're removing this basket, in the past, we just used our flathead to pry it off with force. But one of our watchers and clients, Anthony, had told us a little secret that if you drip rubbing alcohol around the basket before you pry it off, it's significantly easier. Yeah, voltage is very important to know. The only way I think we're going to be able to find that out, well, how would you even find out the voltage rating of a capacitor without the schematics? You could start pumping voltage into it until it blows up and then take a certain amount away from that and say, well, it's roughly around there, but that's not going to give you a confidently correct answer. Have we noticed any correlation between the production of HomePods and the faulty diode? No. I think we've actually had even the refurbished ones come in with these faulty diodes. Also considering I think there were only 2 production runs for these things in the first place. We haven't seen a correlation. I'm going to add that offer up to my website too, under the common issue for the blinking volume buttons. If you can figure out how to fix it, and we can reproduce it, you've got yourself a free HomePod. Shipping covered. Anywhere in the world. Have I ever been to Germany? I have not. But I would really love to. My wife would love to move there. Education there is great. Would be good to put the kids through that. Okay, we are up close and ready to diagnose. Dead diode? Yes, indeed. It's got a date code of 1746K on it, so who's surprised? No, really same. I could really go for some good citrus. And an orange HomePod. Yeah, that too. Thought you were talking about oranges. I have been craving oranges. Apple would have to build a whole new batch if they did a recall program. Well, yeah, fuck them. They should. I don't care what they have to do. This is their responsibility. This is their problem that they created and then made customers purchase. They didn't make anybody purchase them, but they stuck everybody with this problem and they swept it under the rug. And up to this point, they're still successful with it. I don't hate Apple, but I do hate a hell of a lot of what they do. If I hated Apple, I wouldn't be here fixing these, because I wouldn't care for them. Wouldn't care for the pod. But damn it, they're too good. And then all these other companies go and copy what Apple sucks at and not what they're good at, thinking that that's how they get their success. Could I dye a HomePod in the Starlight or Green Alpine Loop color? Is that a color from Ritz lineup? If it is, I can certainly do that. Power! Bass! And negligible offset. Ready to go. Ready to get put back together. We're crushing them today. How long have we been at it? 2.5 hours roundabout. We're not doing too bad. A little slower than usual. Oh. They promised 7 years of software support? Or are you talking about the 7-year warranty? Because a warranty is not the same thing as a software support. You can end the software support and discontinue a product long before your 7-year obligation. You just have to provide hardware service. Of course, you can't push a software update that breaks things. But you're not obligated to continue providing software updates for something. Unless there's something I'm unaware of, which entirely possible. I'm unaware of a lot of things. But I didn't know that Apple had any sort of legally binding or even arbitrary agreement saying that they had 7 years of software support for anything, let alone the MacBooks. Think about the MacBooks. I think I already have an idea for the firmware, but I'll need to buy a HomePod that doesn't have current 16.3 firmware. Ah. Oh, Mayushi. If you want, I could give you remote access to a HomePod that has older firmware if you want to try anything. I wouldn't be able to send you one for a few reasons, but I'd be more than happy to set something up that gives you remote access to one. If you're thinking what I was thinking with like Check Rain or something like that, the old exploit where you like jailbreak it, and then you can dump the firmware. I tried it. I'm not very good at that stuff, so I probably didn't try very well. So I'm not saying don't try it yourself. But I was blocked in many ways from that working. Should I power off my HomePod when I leave it? If you're not leaving them for an extended period of time, like days or weeks, just leave it plugged in. Don't worry about it. Put them on a surge protector, but don't worry about unplugging them if you're only going to be gone from them for a day or so. I couldn't tell you why it's boot looping. Might be hardware failure, might be a software issue that still won't let me recover from, but it's just sitting there having its own little time. It's always done that. And I think that's all it's ever going to do. Yeah, that might turn out to be better than unfortunate, because that's completely a completely different approach than anything I've tried. And it sounds like you know, because you know what you're doing at least a little bit, because in the past people have sort of mentioned something like that, but they've always been like, oh, why don't you just capture the firmware update between the HomePod and the Apple server when it runs an update? And it's like, you can't do that because the traffic between the two are encrypted. So yes, you can see the traffic with Wireshark, but you can't translate, you can't unencrypt that traffic. It's all encrypted. It's useless to you. But if you're able to grab the session ID, and if it's still reusable, that may work, but you still run into the problem of most likely getting an OTA update instead of a full restorable firmware file. And the OTA updates are downloadable from ipsw.me, but you cannot restore with OTA firmware files. You have to have the full recovery firmware. You make drivers for fun. How in the hell? That's a brand new sentence that I've never heard anybody say, and I never thought anybody would ever say. I make drivers for fun. What is wrong with you? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Whoever manages to fix find a fix for bricked logic boards rightfully deserves the HomePod God crown. How long are you still streaming? You're just gonna have to wait around and find out, aren't you? We've got power. Looks like it's all working. I'll give you a hint, though. We've got 2 more HomePods to fix, and then we'll be done here. Everything is wrong with me. Yeah, just to give an idea. Actually, I don't have that many blinking bricked logic boards left. I've actually been using a lot of them for parts, which is unfortunately all they're good for now. Oh wait, I got a whole bunch more here too. Some of them with Wi-Fi issues, but yeah. And then here's a few that I've been using for parts, of course. Let's see if this works.
I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble.
Very loud, but it works. Looks great. Sounds great. Okay. This one's not from Marisa. This was sent under someone else's name. Bijan. Okay. Bijan has death farts. Our last 2 repairs for today are actually both going to be death farts. If you go to the mailing address section on my website, you'll find my address, and then below that you'll find the international repairs with everybody else's contact. Okay. Let's, of course, start by checking our symptoms. It should power on. It should produce sound, but with death farts, I'm expecting to hear a pretty severe popping sound, which would indicate the DC offset has grown to the trigger point that causes those death farts. Not always a giveaway indicator that there is a problem. Popping by itself is quite normal and expected behavior, even with the brand new second-gen HomePods. I've got a YouTube short showing that. Even the new ones pop on occasion.
Your HomePod is about to reset. Keep pressing until you hear 3 beeps.
That sounds kind of funky. Kind of sounds like the subwoofers dying in addition to those death farts, which tends to happen when death farts happen for too long and start cooking the subwoofer. But let's get this apart, see what it needs. I just need to have that on my clipboard so I can just paste it in the chat. In the next video, HomePod first gen and second gen side-by-side comparison, please. We did that. Go check out my live stream where we did the teardown and comparison of the new second gen HomePod. Ooh, that smells horrible. Check the video description for details on the giveaway, folks. It's not happened yet, but read the video description for how to enter. You'll have to wait until this stream ends to leave a comment on what color you want. And then we will we'll pick a random comment to give it away to next week. step down converter near the diode and just moved all the tiny components to the left of it. Tediously trying to fix it now. We've actually had somebody do the same thing before and had them send their amp in, and we rebuilt the whole thing. No problems. It was pretty fun. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen it already, I've actually got a couple of videos on my channel. They're all live streams, so you have to go to the live tab. But I've got a couple of live streams where we took apart the new 2nd gen Apple HomePod. We did a side-by-side listening test. We took the new one apart. And then we did it again. We did another live stream where we took the new one apart and we actually took a closer look at all of the chips on the boards. This one's putting up a fight even with the rubbing alcohol. Of course, it would be the second to last one that's putting up the biggest fight. Guess what? You have no chance, little pod. You have no idea what's coming. Yeah, that's what I thought. Come apart. Oh man, sure it takes an extra minute to put some rubbing alcohol in there, but the amount of time it would have saved me to sit here for 10 minutes prying this basket up. That one was a fighter. That would not have been fun without that alcohol. I smell a roasted subwoofer. Here we go. Uh-oh. You can probably smell that from here. That looks awful. Should not sound like that. And dare I smell? I can smell it from here. Do I have to? Yes, I do. Oh, God. Fuck. Awful. Truly awful. So, obviously, they're going to need a new subwoofer when we put this back together. But we're not going to stop there. We're not just going to drop a new subwoofer in this and call it good. There's usually a reason why that subwoofer dies. Like that. And it's those, it's that DC offset. It's that DC voltage that gets through those bad filters. And cooks your subwoofer over time. Hey, if you want to try fixing them yourself, I say definitely try it. Definitely go for it. It is so worth it. It is such a rewarding experience to get one of these things working again, and then to be able to listen to music from it again. It's awesome. And then it opens up a new door of opportunities for you to, make a little bit of a side business for yourself, buying broken ones and reselling them fixed, or just keeping them for yourself and getting a whole bunch of whole home audio setups on the cheap. Yes, Martin is a fellow devout HomePod repair person. Just as interested as I am in seeing every issue possible come to an end. Here we go. So, like I was saying earlier, that subwoofer doesn't just die on its own like that. There's a reason for it. So we're going to power this amplifier up with it connected to our test woofer over here. That's connected to our multimeter over there. And we're going to confirm what we were talking about and see if we've got too much DC voltage coming out of this amp. You don't want any DC voltage coming out of your amp. A little bit is inevitable, but too much is too much. Okay, so we're not expecting any power issues, which is evident here. It looks like it's turning on. You stop that, Mr. Camera. That's a pretty loud pop. Woo! 500 millivolts and quickly growing. That is definitely damage territory. Let's get the filters replaced, which will bring that DC voltage under control again. Prevent the new subwoofer that we'll put this together with from roasting. Stop those death farts from happening as well. And then, of course, like always, we're going to replace the Schottky barrier diode as well. It has nothing to do with the issue at hand, but it does love to fail and cause the most common no power issue. So we just like to replace that diode every time, regardless of its condition or date code. Looking good. Okay. Let's take care of our power diode. For those curious, it has a date code of 1726K, so it's a pretty old one we've got here. What's your airflow? So my airflow is at about... Oh, my airflow is turned all the way up. If you're having issues with components flying off the board, try Flex. It's not going to hurt anything, just cover everything up in Flex near the area you're working, and it should keep everything in place. I don't understand that the diode, for example, takes a minute or more compared to your few seconds to go down from the amp. Are you saying that you don't know why it takes less time for me to pull it off and put it on than you? I don't do this, but if you're finding that you're uncomfortable with how long and how much heat you have to put this under to get it off, I would suggest preheating the back side of the board for 30 seconds to 30 to 60 seconds just to get the whole board warm. That way when you go attack the diode, the board won't soak up as much of the heat when you try. It's not something I do. I wonder if your hot air station is just weaker too. I mean, granted, that's a $60 Amazon rework station that I got. It was the cheapest one. I think it's at like an 850 watt, 500 or 800 watts or something. It's not very beefy. And I'm holding the nozzle about an inch away from the diode. I also use a nozzle that's the size of the diode. I don't go naked. I don't go with a super small nozzle. I use a nozzle that's as big as the diode itself. The power issue's probably just a bad batch of diodes. Doesn't have anything to do with external or environmental factors. I didn't hear any significant popping. The bass still sounds great. And we've only got 9 millivolts, and it's going down. So this looks ready to go. Let's get it put back together. And then we'll move on to our final repair for the day. Which means soon you guys will be able to leave a comment on this video. And the giveaway shall begin. Or I guess I should say the entries for giveaways should begin. We'll actually pick who wins it next week. Who's it gonna be? What color will they pick? Yeah, HomePods are very network chatty. I think at most I saw upwards of like 2 terabytes of data usage over a 24-hour period with mine. But that's pod to pod traffic. That's not purely internet traffic. Aw, well, thank you guys for being here. It wouldn't be nothing without you. I'm just here fixing stuff. You guys are here watching and talking and being the bee that you be. Red is easily one of my favorites. I'm torn between the red and the sapphire blue. No! Give that back. That is why I use a different power supply to test our repairs, because with their original power supply, with it being unplugged for as long as we do, my idea is at least it should have discharged enough. So if I do drop anything on there, it's not the end of the world. Oh yeah, we do not want to put it back together with this. Let's just, goodbye. Here we've got a subwoofer in much better condition. Looks good. Feels good. Smells good. Oh, you missed a lot. We fixed a few more HomePods. After this one, we've got one more and then we're all done. Excuse me. Nice and sealed, so we can put our basket down. You see me pushing in on the subwoofer after we screw it in. That's so I can check and make sure that the gasket is sealing properly and it's not, the subwoofer isn't bent interfering with the seal. Also, the gasket for the ribbon cable here is good. If any of those were loose or bad, we would hear air whooshing through as we did our test. It's not something I always did at the start, but I do it every time now because I've worked on a few of these in the past and didn't do it, and then didn't catch an issue with the seal until it was too late. Had to take it all the way back apart again, and just to wiggle a gasket around a little bit, and then it's good. When was the first time I disassembled a HomePod, and what was the issue? It's probably been about a year, maybe a little more now, and it was the common no power issue with the same dead diode. That's what started this all. Because I had bought broken HomePods just to fix for myself and have more of them for cheap. And so I looked up, and the only video I found of anybody fixing was one guy with one video where he found that dead diode and replaced it. And I was like, I wonder if that's a common issue. And so I bought broken ones, and sure enough, most of them had the same issue. And I was like, I wonder if a lot of people have this issue. And yeah, sure enough, a lot of people have this issue. Almost done. It must have taken me like an hour or two just to get that first HomePod I ever worked on open in the first place. Just to get this thing off. And here we are now. Getting two of them done in the amount of time it took me to get half of one done. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Live streaming a repair as opposed to recording it and uploading it after the fact presents its own challenges for sure. For example, and the biggest one, what if something goes wrong? If that was the only thing that you had to fix for that day, and you rely on live streaming for some sort of an income, in addition to the repairs, then you're just out of work for the day. Or if you come across an issue where you need a part that you just don't have on hand, you just have to set it to the side and work on something else, which, yeah, no big deal. But it seems like we've found a pretty unique scenario here where we know typically what goes wrong and what parts we need, so we can stock up on. And I mean, this is the case for most repair shops, especially ones that specialize in certain products. They stock up on parts that they know they're probably going to need. All right, enough talking. Does this work?
Having trouble.
Yes, it does.
I'm having trouble.
And volume buttons light up nice and even. And if you remember when we were first testing this, it was significantly quieter than that. So that sounds much better. Volume buttons look nice and even. No significant popping when we disconnect it from power. That's a happy HomePod. And with that, we arrive at the final repair for today's stream. This one comes from Gus, a local drop-off. And it also has death farts. Do I do other jobs than fixing HomePods? I actually have a full-time day job as a sales engineer for a local software company. I've been there for like 10 years now. Did Apple guys reach out to you to work for them since you're... No, Apple's never contacted me about any of this. If they do, I'll let you guys know. Okay, same thing as before. Let's check our symptoms. We're expecting it to power on, but have a pretty loud pop, which, again, isn't a problem by itself, but when there are other issues, then it can be a sign that, obviously, you've got this DC offset death fart problem. Ooh, yeah. That's a good pop. And by good, I mean bad. And by good, bad, I mean it's confirmed what we want to hear, and we know how to fix it. So let's take it apart, see if we're correct. It's the last one.
You want to go for a walk after?
Yeah. Ah! Almost stabbed my hand again. I'm still recovering from the last time. It's not that sharp, but when you're putting so much force behind it, and then it just slips right out and stabs you right in the web. Good stuff. The glue that you dissolve with alcohol during disassembly could cause resonances or this. So, obviously there's a gasket underneath that glue that does the job of sealing things up. And then the screws do a good job keeping things together and stopping things from shaking. The glue really just seems to be something that they did to make it a sealed unit. Like they felt that it was necessary. And clearly gluing it together is not necessary, as evident by the teardown that we did on the 2nd gen HomePod with no glue. You're absolutely right. They should partner with local repair shops, but they're never going to do that because it enables more potentially broken or Frankenstein products with Apple's name on it to be out in the wild and give people the subpar experience that Apple wants them to have. That's why they are so insistent on you just replacing something as a whole or buying a new one, because they don't want you to have a bad experience with something repaired and then think that that's just how it is with Apple or using Apple stuff. So none of from here, like from this part up, none of this needs to be airtight. This basket does need to be airtight, but it's no, sorry, I'm mistaken. This does not need to be airtight. This basket part here, it doesn't do anything to seal anything up. And as a matter of fact, it'll sound exactly the same if you use the HomePod with this basket completely removed. It'll sound exactly the same. The sealing is done entirely in the next layer by this gasket here, right underneath the glue. See if we can get this out. Yeah, you see that? Gasket. That's what they should have just done the first time. Without the glue. Does the OG have glue on the bottom part, or is the rest of the basket one piece? I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're saying. The glued on bottom part, you're talking about the rubber base on the bottom? So once you take this basket off, the rest of the shell is one piece. The rest of the shell doesn't come apart anymore. Hey! Okay, woofer check. Looks good, feels good, smells good. All right. It's time. Time to meet your maker. You cannot fight. You cannot beat Big Bubba. Big Bubba will break you apart before you defeat them. Come out. Come on out. So to avoid removing, and so you can see it here ourselves. Sometimes we do it too. It's inevitable. Sometimes you can get it perfect without taking any off, but more often than not, you're going to take a little bit off, which isn't the end of the world. There's 2 layers of paint on the bottom of these. There's that black paint, and then there's the white paint. If you scratch through the black paint, it's not going to show through on the other side. But if you scratch through the white layer underneath, then that's when it can start showing through. To avoid this, the best advice I can give is to keeping your tool as level with the plastic top as possible when you're prying it up. The reason why it scratches it is because you're going at an angle of attack towards the direction you're prying, which is scraping the plastic off or the paint off as you go. Keep it level, or better yet, even tilt the front down and away from the display a little bit, so that way as you're prying, it's going like that, as opposed to that. So hope that made sense. Hope it helps a little bit. Also, it might help. It might make it easier if you dip your jimmy tool in rubbing alcohol throughout the process. Just give it a dip, insert it, give a couple pries, and then re-dip. And that should make it a little easier. I have not tried fishing wire yet. I'm sure it would work just fine, but I'm not gonna bother. I'm gonna just stick with my tried and true. They make versions. I don't think iFixit does, but they, like Amazon and whatever, make versions of these tools that are plastic. So you may want to consider using one of those too. The reason why I wouldn't suggest a credit card is it's really hard to hold the credit card and go around and cut the adhesive. You might be able to just push the credit card all the way through that way, but I feel like that would still take a lot of effort. Okay, so we're going to power this amp on. It's the same routine as the previous Death Farts repair that we just did. We're going to confirm our guess here, which is too much DC voltage coming out of the amp into the subwoofer, which is reaching that Death Fart threshold and forcing that behavior. Does the HomePod boards hold some electricity when unplugged? Yes, they do. So be careful when you're messing with these parts. The amp isn't going to hold anything lethal. The power supply, I cannot tell you. I couldn't give you an educated answer as to whether it's safe or not if the power supply were to discharge in you. But both of these parts do indeed hold a bit of charge for a bit of time, so be careful with them. Yes, a little bit of heat will help too. Just be very careful with heat. Don't use too much. It's very easy to ruin the mesh and the plastics. Okay, so we've got a significant pop, and we've got 650 millivolts of offset, and it's growing very rapidly. Pretty much exactly what we saw on the last HomePod that we just fixed up. But let's get this apart and do our fixing. Your guess was 20 millivolts? That's a horrible guess. Horrible. Yeah, so if you have Death Farts, when you check for DC offset, you're gonna see at least a couple hundred millivolts and quickly growing. If you only see a couple dozen millivolts, like 20 millivolts, that's within spec. That's not gonna cause Death Farts. You've got some other issue going on if that's the case. Would tropical teal be a good color for the pod? I haven't tried tropical teal yet, but I imagine it would look fantastic. Okay, flux it up. Let's get some fresh solder on the board for our new caps there. That's a better guess. Yeah. Yes, I am still using the NC191. That until I one day try the Amtech stuff, the Chip Quick's the only stuff I'll use. Okay, we're gonna replace that power diode there with the date code of 1746K. That's the bad date code. We don't want to see that. So we're gonna replace it anyways. Yeah, those are most likely the same or very similar. I'd have to. I wonder if it's gonna be somewhere else. Actually, probably closer to the DAC. Because if you look at the first gen amplifier, even the first gen, so that's where your filters are. Right over here. This is the actual amp for the bass speaker, and this is actually the DAC for the bass. So this is what takes the digital audio signal and converts it to analog. So the filters are right after the DAC, and that is, I believe, correct circuit design for an audio amplifier. I'm not positive what these four caps are, but I'm willing to bet whatever these do for this amp is probably the same caps you're seeing under the heatsink in the new gen as well. Probably not the filters, but maybe. Or maybe these are just extra filters. I'm not sure. Boy, if only we had schematics. Oh, is that my... No, that's the good board. We don't want to mix those up. Go away, bad board. Okay, let's check our work. Yeah, that would make a good YouTube short. Still can't believe I did that. Alright, so we got power. That's always good to see. We didn't break anything. Make it worse. We got base. And we've got an excellent offset reading of 0 millivolts. So it's time to put this back together. The final pod for the day. Come on. There we go. Yeah, the step-down converter's easy. It's everything around it that you got to watch out for. And with how long the amp likes to hold power for, you got to be careful that you give it time to discharge before you go into it, because you will definitely bump into things along the way with your tweezers trying to place that step-down down, and you might get a few sparky sparks. And then you'll go while you're holding it, and everything's hot and molten, and you'll create more work for yourself, basically. We are fast approaching 1,000 fixed HomePods, I'll tell you that. And we're at this rate, we're not slowing down anytime soon. Yeah, I know. You're right. But I intend on changing that very soon. I've been collecting strange and stupid speakers to make an upcoming series idea that I had called Stupid Speakers. The idea is pretty simple. I see speakers at whenever I'm out and dicking around out in the real world, I see speakers all the time out there they're just dumb, right? Like Budweiser beer can speaker. What the hell? So I was like, what if I started buying these like stupid speakers and like looked at them on the channel and like reviewed them and tore them apart and all that. So that is coming soon. I just need the time. That's the only thing that stopped me from starting it is the time. We just have so many of these things showing up every day now that between my day job and then HomePod repairs and then taking care of the kid. Time is a very rare and valuable resource. Yeah, I'll give it 16 to 18 years. No, as soon as that kid's old enough, they're helping. Yes, indeed. Maybe she'll be able to help me finally get the lost 10mm socket out of the engine bay in my Z. Unfortunately, that is probably a bad logic board, either hardware or more likely the software, so you have to replace the logic board to fix that. Should have named the kid after a date code of a diode. Missed opportunity. I would use a different date code, hell yeah. Oh, that's what now? Robin's here. Good evening. Y'all are just in time for us to wrap up this last HomePod repair and end the stream so you guys can finally leave that comment to enter. Thank you all for sticking around and watching these repairs. It's always nice to have the company. The last drawstring wants to put up a fight. There we go. You should wait a couple more seconds when ending the stream. It cuts out so often. That goodbye cuts out so often. Really now? Interesting, because I hit stop streaming in OBS and then wait like a solid 2 minutes before I end the stream on YouTube. I wonder what I can do to avoid that. Maybe I need to hit stop stream a second or two later in OBS. That's probably it. Ouch. I hope you feel better soon, Robin. Hope you don't got the COVID. That shit sucks. Happy Sunday, everybody. It is a good Sunday. We managed to get through our entire backlog just in time. And we're going to see if this last HomePod that we fixed is ready to go. Interesting. Okay. Let's see.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
We all are.
I'm having trouble.
Don't raise your voice at me. All right. Everything for Gus's pod checks out. And that's everything that we could get fixed up today, taken care of. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're looking for more info on doing your own HomePod repairs or reaching out to me to send yours in to be repaired here on the channel, check out the website, nixfix.com. There's a dedicated section for common issues so you can figure out how to fix it yourself, and the mail-in address section where you can find my info and others around the world that also offer repairs. If you are trying to enter the giveaway for this custom Apple HomePod, here's the deal. Once this stream here ends, you should be able to leave a comment on this video. Live chat messages won't count. You must be subscribed, and you have to leave a comment here saying what color you would want your HomePod to be if you could get it any color. That's all you need to do. And next week, next Sunday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, we will do a random draw from one of the comments on this video to see, who won. That's about it for today, folks. Like I said, if you have any questions about the giveaway even, or just HomePod repairs in general, feel free to leave them down below. In any case, I'll catch you all in the next one, and goodbye! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,